So I was having a conversation recently with this woman that I ended things with, and not because anything was completely, you feel me, wrong. It's just it didn't feel right. You feel me? It was like it seemed as if we approached life kind of differently, and it wasn't for a good or a bad sake. It's just compatibility sake, right? And so she didn't like that fact. You feel me? And she expressed that us disconnecting made her sad, right? And I said, understandably so. You feel me? This is the opposite of what you wanted. So I wouldn't expect you to be, you feel me, overjoyed about the situation, right? And so we continued the conversation. And at a certain point in time, I just was like, am I wrong for how I'm responding? Because I hear where she's coming from and I understand it. And she looked at me and was like, well, that's easy for you to say, Charles, when I was just like, part of the reason why we have these feelings is because we attach to a certain desired outcome and how we want things to be. But the quicker we're able to attach to what we like about something, able to address what we don't like about something, and then to return back to neutrality, the easier it is to move along in your life, right? And so it's like, in saying that, it was like, am I being insensitive? Because I'm not trying to school you, I'm not trying to teach you, I'm not trying to tell you to get over the feeling. I'm actually telling you to do the opposite. Lean wholeheartedly into the feeling, feel it so fully it takes you over. And then with time, it'll start to subside and it'll start to die down. And as you get used to these overwhelming feelings, it'll become more like a baseline for you. And then once you realize that I don't want to live in such extremities, you'll learn how to stay at an even keel, whether things are good or whether things are bad. It sounds way easier than the actual practice of doing it. And so what brought me here to make this video is I'm sitting here reading this book right now called Seeking the Heart of Wisdom, which is, I guess, part of the reason I said what the fuck I said. I've been reading this book. And so right here it says, and although our desire for pleasant feeling is continually being gratified, we are never fully satisfied. I'm going to say that again. And although our desire for pleasant feeling is continually being gratified, we are never fully satisfied, precisely because of the fleetingness and insubstantiality of these feelings. The conditioning that is then happening in our minds is simply the nourishing and strengthening of desire. So, although we always want pleasant feelings, we always go after our pleasant feelings, we never get enough pleasant feelings because we always want more happiness, we want more goodness, we want more joy, we want, you feel me? And so we're never fully satisfied because how quickly the joy we get from things dissipates. I'm hungry. I got some cookies and ice cream, and now it tasted really good, and I'm happy. And 3 hours later, I'm hungry again. I thought I was going to be satisfied, right? I want warm weather. I took a vacation. I went to the beach. But now that I'm here in the warm weather, I'm sweating and I want to go back into the air condition, right? We're going to be satisfied, but as soon as we want different conditions, that satisfaction starts to fail. It starts to flee. The conditioning that is then happening in our minds is simply the nourishing and strengthening of desire. So if you're always wanting something else or desiring something and you're able to get it, you're not learning how to sit with anything. You're learning how to want more and how to have more desire and how to go fulfill and achieve those desires. You feel me? The more that you chase after things that satisfy you, the more that you strengthen your desire for things that are satisfying. And the more that you become disgruntled and displeased when you're not satisfied because you've had 50 different opportunities to be satisfied, you fulfilled every single one of them. So now that you have the 51st, why can't you fulfill it? It is like trying to quench your thirst by drinking ocean water. The more you drink, the thirstier you become. An inedible an inevitable component of desire for pleasant feelings is the desire to avoid painful ones. So the more that you desire to be pleasantly fulfilled, the least you're going to desire painful opportunities or experiences, which is kind of what I was saying to her, was like the more that you experience life in general, the easier it is for you to address things that aren't pleasant and not have them feel so overwhelming and not have them be debilitating and knock you off your path. Yes, it'll hurt. Yes, it'll be annoying. Yes, you won't like it. but it won't stop you in your tracks. You won't be frozen in time because your feelings are overwhelming you. Believing that our happiness lies in experiencing more and more pleasant feelings, we close ourselves to the full range of what arises in our lives. This ignorance and craving closes us off to an open awareness of suffering and closes us off to compassion. I.e., we pay attention to what it is that we want out of life that will fulfill us. We ignore any negatives in any of the suffering that happens in our life, or we try to avoid them. And in doing so, we lose our compassion because we don't focus on the fact that we all go through bad things. We all are always dealing with a plethora of past bad experiences. And how you move forward is all determined by how you, one, look at those experiences, and two, allow them to affect you moving forward. The sooner you can attach to the circumstance and understand that something you didn't like happened and how you quickly detach from what you don't like, the sooner you're able to be back onto the path of happiness. You feel me? And the more compassionate you're able to be, because you'll remember your times of sadness. You'll remember how you fell short. You remember the pains that you've been through. You feel me? If you're able to deal with sitting in your own desires, you'll know that there's always a gap between where you are and where you want to be, and that other people feel that as well. Because you're not just busily chasing desires. You're not busily just trying to plug other things into your life and looking at only the things that make you happy. You're aware of the disconnect between being happy and sad that all of us experience, and you're okay sitting in it. So you'll be able to sit in it with somebody else. All right. This ignorance and craving closes us off to an open awareness of suffering and closes us off to compassion. Instead, the quality of compassion is subverted into sorrow. In sorrow, there is an aversion to the suffering rather than an openness to it. So, i.e., when you get sad, you get downtrodden, you close yourself off to the experience, you close yourself off to the lessons and the teaching factors of the experience. Therefore, you never actually sit in it and learn how you feel. Therefore, you're not going to be able to relate to somebody else who feels a similar way or goes through something else because you didn't sit there and feel it yourself. So you can't relate and offer a guidance or compassion because you didn't sit with the feeling. You don't know how to cope with it. You don't know how to be with it. You don't even truly know how it feels other than you were avoiding something. But as we pay careful attention to and begin to distinguish compassion from sorrow, we understand that in true compassion, there is no attachment and no aversion. You're not worried about attaching to any specific thought, feeling, pattern, or anything. You're literally sitting with a person's feelings and empathizing. And that is this state of openness to suffering, which is in fact the greatest motive of skillful and effective response. Being open to and okay with the idea of not being okay, of being okay with feeling pain, of being okay with not having your desires fulfilled, allows you to actually sit in compassion and experience someone else's disconnect between their peace, their joy, their happiness, and where they actually are, and encourages them to actually sit in it and address what it is that they're feeling. Some things cannot be changed until you address what they actually are. You feel me? You cannot fully understand your feelings until you can name your feelings, until you can name them, and then you can sit with them long enough to understand them and unpack them, which means you cannot run away from the fact that they don't feel good or that they don't make you happy, because your feelings are going to kick in before your mind does and before your mind is able to understand why the feelings kicked in. You feel me? I'm mad. Wait, am I mad because I messed up and I'm blaming it on them? Am I mad because I'm embarrassed and I'm trying to hide it? You feel me? Am I mad because I feel like I'm not controlling anything? Like, your emotions are going to kick in before your logical mind does. So you have to be able to sit with the emotion so your logical mind can unpack the best case of action. All right, it's been 10 minutes. I'm done. I'm sorry for the rant. I hope you learned something. I love you all.